it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today. Today's project is this one. It's a Christmas card. It's fairly obvious it's a Christmas card because it's got Merry Christmas on it. But it's using the Rooted in Nature set. Now, I used this last week for the card that I made for my husband, or to give to my husband for our wedding anniversary. And if you remember, I described it in that as the male version of Frosted Florals. Just, for me, that's the feel that it had. But I had completely forgotten about these three trees here. Now, they come as a pair and a single, but for Christmas, these are ideal. And that's what I've used here. I have added a sentiment using the Timeless Tidings stamp set. This is the stamp set that goes with one of the kits in the Autumn Winter catalogue. So just bear in mind that you can take sentiments from other places. So don't think that you have to restrict yourself to where you're thinking you should look. So this is a really quick card to make. There are a few techniques I want to go through with you, but basically this is a really easy card to put together. So the first thing I'm going to grab is a piece of Whisper White, and this is cut at 5.5 by 3 3/4. The dimensions will be over on my blog, so don't worry about those. The first thing I'm going to do is to grab a scrap of paper, and I've just cut a wave in it, and this is actually a back of one of the delivery notices that you get when you order stuff from Stampin' Up. So this is going to be my hills, because if you notice we've got these shadow hills. I have used basically two colours, which is Soft Sea Foam and Smoky Slate. But there is a trick to getting a smooth finish, particularly when you're using ordinary Whisper White cardstock and sponge daubers. So, sponge dauber. Now, you won't be able to see it on here, but I have got on here some glycerin, ordinary glycerin. And if I grab a scrap of, first find a scrap of Whisper White. There we go. Oh no, that's not a scrap. Okay, well, I'll use the piece that I've been using for stamping off on, because this is the one that didn't work properly. So this is my Smoky Slate and apparently some other colour ink dauber, and I've got Smoky Slate ink on it, but I've also got a little bit of, oops, this is my Smoky Slate, of glycerin, and I've just popped a little bit of glycerin, which I've decanted into a tiny bottle, onto my stamp block. My brain sometimes. And I'm just going to very gently rub that on here. Now, what it does is it just makes the ink go on in a much smoother fashion. Now, I've got Mossy Meadow here, which I have not put glycerin on. And if let's ink that up a bit more. So if I just pop that on my ink pad and then come in here, it's a dark colour, so let's get rid of some of the colour, but can you see it drags, and you can see where the dauber was, whereas with my Smoky Slate and the added glycerin, let's load that up with some more ink. Of course, I've now buried my Smoky Slate ink pad, under a punch. Sad sometimes, isn't it? So just in one corner, and then just tap it into the glycerin as well, and then and then I can come in here and you've got a much smoother finish. So this has got the definite streaks, and I accept that Smoky Slate is a lighter colour, but it's not producing as many streaks, which is brilliant. Now that is going to do me pretty much for everything that I need, so I can put my Smoky Slate to one side again. So, create our wave of hills, and just decide where you want your hills to be, and then just hold. You want to have the top of your hill is that cut, so you don't want to do it the other way up. Does that make sense? Probably not, but hey, just, yeah. So you're covering up where you don't want the ink to go. That would have been the easy way of saying it, really, wouldn't it? So all I'm going to do is just very gently come in and add a tiny bit of colour. Just bring it down a bit. Just make sure we go off the side of the card. And then I'm going to bring in my soft sea foam, and I know that's the soft sea foam side, and just add an extra bit of colour there. And it's almost imperceptible until you move your piece of paper, and then you can see very definitely where your hill has been. So I'm going to pop another one over here, and I'll actually cover up. This is my smoky slate again. Let's get a bit more. I'm going to cover up where I've been, and just, and as I say, you can hardly see the colour going down, and then just a bit of sea foam just to soften the grey a bit, but you move your piece of paper and suddenly you can see it. Right, I don't want the sea foam anymore because I only want that in the front. And I'm going to come in kind of here-ish. Now this is where you don't want to cover up what you've already got. So just be a little bit careful about where you're going. And because this is further back, you want less colour. And then we can just pop in another, which will take a shallower hill, and just add that. And as I say, the real trick with this is glycerin, and it's just ordinary glycerin that you'll get in a health food shop or somewhere like that, and then you just get that nice sort of soft finish. And that's all we're going to do for the background. And then we are going to grab our mossy meadow, don't need soft sea foam anymore, and I'm going to bring in a post-it note because that will be a key to this. So we want the trees in the front to be darker than the trees in the back. So I'm just going to ink up my double tree and pop my first pair of trees just there. And that's my first pair of trees. And then I'm going to have some coming off the side here. So let's ink those up. I do like things coming off the sides of cards. I think it looks more mint. So that's that pair. And then I need my scrap, because this is where we want to start filling in everything else. So we'll come in over the top of that pair, and they will just merge into the background. And then, whilst I've still got this inked, but only just inked, I'm going to grab my post-it note and pop it just here, and just breathe on my trees. And actually I want to come, it doesn't matter if I dirty my piece of grid paper because it's well overdue for a change. So I just want to make sure that the bottom of the tree is onto the post-it note, because I want it to disappear and it's too much of a line otherwise. So it's just merging into the background. So we then need to fill in the other side. I'm going to start with my single tree to just come in here. We'll go up a bit. So that's at full strength. And then I'm going to stick with this one, I think, for the moment. We're going to come in and stamp off, and we'll just have one here. And then we'll bring in our post-it note again, and I will actually ink and stamp off. And that's one. And again, ink and stamp off. And two. And we'll just add a few more in the back. I'm going to come down a bit. Let's just bring that down. And and just fill in some of the background. I'm just going to go off twice. And then over this side twice and off the side. And there we go. So that is our basic card. And the key, as I say, is just don't worry about the fact that you're layering on top. These are trees. They're going to have light and shade. So we just accept that they have light and shade. And if you didn't know that I'd done them in that order, you wouldn't see them being done in that order. Right, that needs to dry just a wee bit before we do the heat embossing. So whilst that is happening, I will grab my punch, and I've got a scrap of gold foil, and I'm going to use the decorative ribbon border punch, and I'm actually after this edge rather than this edge, so it's just a scallop. And I should have shown you, shouldn't I? So let's, right, so you've done your punching, and to line up your second set, if I show you this close to, preferably with some light on, there we are, you can see there's some silver here, and what you want to do is line up your piece of card so that you're in the punch. So we've got our straight edge here, so make sure that goes in, and then line up so that you can see the silver. Hopefully you can see that. So you want to be able to see the silver through your punched image, and then punch again, and then come through, push the straight edge back into your punch, line up again, and punch. And then you get your nice straight border, straight-ish border. And get rid of the little bits, because otherwise they are going to go everywhere. So, trim that off and get rid of these bits, and then we can do our heat embossing. Whoops, let's put that back where it should be. Then we can do our heat embossing, and then we're nearly done. So I've got on a block that's far too big, but that's because I stupidly used my H block for putting glycerin on. I've got my Versamark and my Merry Christmas sentiment, and no, I haven't forgotten to use my embossing buddy. I've just not done it yet, otherwise known as yes, I had forgotten to do my embossing buddy. So I'm just going to come in and make sure that that is all dry, because having stamped and put so much ink on, you just want to make sure. And then I'm just going to come in underneath the trees and stamp and up, and grab my gold embossing powder, pop it in my box, and there it is, all nicely covered. Get rid of the embossing powder, grab the trusty cheese board, pop that down, heat up my heat tool, and then we can heat emboss. Let's just actually grab my, while I'm heating up my heat gun, I'm just going to get rid of the last little flecks of embossing powder that are still on there. And this is a soft but dry brush. Right. And just do the magic. Sorry about the noise. I love this bit. It's the best bit. Oh, heaven. So, let's get rid of that. Now, let's grab my tear and tape and just make sure that this is dry, because you can actually smudge your heat embossing, which is not a good look. I'm just going to grab some tear and tape and pop that across the bottom where that embossing is and tear that off, and then Get rid of that. How are we for time? Ridiculous, 15 minutes, far too long. Ho-hum. Right, so I want I'm going to cover up the decorative bit, if you like, and use the other bit. So I'm going to line it up so that I've got a scallop at each end. Ideally, that would be lovely if I had a scallop at each end. 1, 2, and then just grab my snips and cut that away. Let's definitely need to change my grid paper. Right, soft sea foam for the background. So I've just got my half sheet of A4, so a piece of A5, fold it in half, grab my bone folder. You can score it first, I normally do, but for some reason I haven't scored this one, so it's fine. And grab my snail and pop some snail across the back. And I do want some right at the bottom there, and I'll pop some in the middle as well, mostly because having heat embossed even just a little bit, things can go a little warped. And there we go. So that's the one we've just made together. That's the one that I made earlier. And as you can see, we've got these lovely rolling hills, just gently soft, muted colours to give the hint of without the whole rigmarole of going mad. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you found that useful and interesting with the glycerin technique. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe, it's in the bottom right hand corner just there. There's a little subscribe button. I generally post a video every day of the week apart from Sundays. Occasionally I will put one out on a Sunday as well. I'm also going to be starting to do more Facebook Lives in the new year, so keep an eye open for that. If you don't already follow me on Facebook, then you know what to do. All my social media links are below. There's a link tree link, and if you click on that right at the bottom of the description bar below, you'll get all my social media. So you'll get my crafty my community page, which is the Crafty Hangout. So have a look at that, sign up. Everyone is very welcome to share their craft ideas, whatever they may be. I don't mind knitting, crochet, sewing, any form of craft. That's brilliant. All I would say is don't sell on there, and don't share links unless people specifically ask for the link. So that's the Crafty Hangout. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you don't already subscribe to my newsletter, you can do that over on my website. In the meantime, if you want any products, I would be thrilled if you would choose me as your demonstrator, and you're based in the UK. I only work in the UK. That would be lovely. I try to look after my customers really well, so why not give me a go? Thank you very much indeed for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye!